Hey, welcome back, and I'm going to continue today working on this bit of firewood to see what fantastic we can get out of it. The first thing I do is assess where I want to take the first board from it. So now I'm going to be looking at the flatness of these two cleaved sides. So looking along the length there, you can see there's a fair bit of deviation. It's not too bad, but there's a dip in here, for example, and then on this side here, perhaps slightly better. And also looking at the grain here, I think I can take what would be virtually a quarter sawn section by taking a board from there. So my intention today then is to flatten this side off a little bit more, and then to cut one board all the way through, perhaps a ½ inch thick. So I'm working at the mortising stool again, and I'm going to start off using a hatchet just to get rid of some of the obviously outer square bits on there. Now I'm by no means that competent with a hatchet. Most of my woodwork's done in the workshop with finer tools, but just cutting away the high spots as I'm doing here will make things a bit quicker when I change over to a plane. Should really be using I guess a side axe, which will help to keep things flatter, but I don't have one of those. A draw knife would be good, and I could do that using my shave horse, but I know a lot of people are not going to have a shave horse to be able to hold this piece of wood whilst they use a draw knife. So this is probably the most easily accessible method. Make the judgment that if you've got a stack of firewood, you almost certainly got a hatchet as well. This would have been done a lot easier if it was done when the wood was green. Now I think you can see I'm using the mortising stools again. Just put a little bit of protection on the top there. Looking down there now, it's getting pretty flat. So it's about time to change to a plane. Now I'm keen to show you this method of planing a board if you don't have a workbench. It's kind of like a Japanese style, really, Japanese style long planing board. Basically got a long board. It could do with being a bit thicker than this, but that's the first one I found. Set that up on the mortising stools and up against the bottom of the bench, and that could be against a wall or a stake in the ground or something. Another board on top of that to provide a stop. Then a bit of firewood can go against that, and I can use a plane downhill like so. Really easy. And what I'm actually doing at the moment is trying to make that edge nice and straight, so I can put the wood this way round, because this is the face I'm trying to get nicely cleaned up. Now once I've done that, you can see it wobbles a bit, so we need to get a couple of clamps either side of that, which could just be bits of wood nailed on just to stop it from rocking, and then I'll be able to plane that surface. So I just clamped a couple of blocks on, just helps to stabilise things a bit. It'd be better if it didn't spring like that, so a much thicker board underneath would be excellent. You notice I'm doing slightly diagonal strokes, which help to keep this without twisting, keep it flat without twisting. And you can see the sort of progress we're making on it. Of course, if you've got a bench and you can clamp it to the bench with bench dogs, maybe some supports like some screw clamps, then it'll be a lot easier. So you can see that's nice and flat now, no twist in it. So we can now think about marking across here and cutting a board out. So I think what I'm going to do now is take roughly an inch and cut that off. That gives me a pretty much quarter sawn section, and we're going to trim off, once that's off, we're going to trim off any excess that doesn't clean up nicely, and also take off the outside of the sapwood. That gives us a section which is wide enough that we can easily split down the middle and do a grain matched outside to a box right the way round, which is one option, although with that length I'll then be stuck. I'll need to find material for the top and the bottom as well, and there's not an awful lot left here. But with this section here, I thought I'd take probably some wedges like so, and do a bit of close boarding. I'll tell you all about that later. But for now, let's set up and start cutting this 1-inch board off. One of the first things I do need to do is have a line to follow, and on the outside here, a pencil line's just not going to cut it. It's the same colour basically as we've got the greys running through here. So I'm going to use a white pencil just to mark down there, and you can see that's a lot easier to actually see. So you can see what I've done here. I've clamped the flat surface I had against the leg of this slightly taller sawhorse. That's basically because I'm taller, so it just makes it easier for me. I'm just putting a couple of blocks underneath the opposite legs, which has the effect of bringing this closer to vertical, and it's always easier to saw when something's vertical. So with that in place, we need a rip saw. As I said last time, a universal panel saw from a DIY store would probably be absolutely fine, just a little bit slower. So we'll just get this started. It's going to be a lot easier when we get nearer to vertical. You see, once I get enough teeth flat in the cut, the saw works a lot easier. There's a lot less jumping, a lot less catching. It should be said that if you've got a bench that you can hold this on, so much the better. As with the planing, where you can manage to do it without a workbench, if you do have a workbench, it just makes things a lot easier. So after a little bit of a sweat, I've managed to remove the board from it. That now needs planing on the sawn side, just to clean that up a bit, make sure the thickness is consistent throughout, and then need to take the waney edge off and this cleaved edge off, and we'll see exactly what we've got. That'll be a job for next time. And then we've got this little piece left, which we need to get all the material to finish off whatever it is we make. So we'll be working a bit on that. We'll clean off this sawn edge first of all, that'll give us a good reference, and then we can cut some more material from it. So, see you next time. Don't forget to share my videos. It's the only way other people will find out about them. And if you want to make sure and see the next episode, then do ensure you're subscribed and you've ticked the notification icon. Cheerio.